Next point on the checklist is to stop early enough. It sounds very easy, but sometimes it's really hard because the other person wants to continue to talk. And of course, you will leave them with some time to ask questions and explain. But when you understand that they are in the defensive area, in one of those 2, 3 first steps in the feedback ladder, you know you have a difficult conversation and they need time to reflect. So you have to try to end it in a good way. That means you will end it and make a new appointment. 2, 3 days ahead maybe. Not too long, not too short. And to make that happen, you really have to take control of the situation. That's the next part of the checklist. You have to be the boss, and that's the next step as well. And sometimes you have to use different influential styles as a leader. You remember that from the very first module we had when we talked about contextual leadership, all the different influential styles we could use. And this is a situation where you have to be the tough and strong boss and take charge and be in control. It's not the supporting, kind, understanding, listening boss. That is something you will do in other situations. But as long as they are in this mood, you really need to be tough to get the message through. So be the boss and stick to your message. Even though you feel like sugarcoating the message or change it, don't do it unless, of course, new information pops up during the conversation that you were not aware of and that changed the whole situation. If that happens, you have to be flexible enough and change your mind. But if it doesn't happen, you have to stick to your message. You can still be friendly, but you have to be determined. You can still be empathetic, but be determined. Don't change the message. So that means you will also have to prepare well in beforehand. Now, the next point on the checklist says, be aware of the monkey. What's the monkey? It's like if you told me something and I said, I don't understand what you mean, you are wrong. And then if you are my leader, you would say, but Sigurd, I think we should have a break and you should think about this and we should meet next Thursday. And then you will bring me a list of things that you think you can change. And that's putting the monkey on my shoulder. But then I say, I don't understand what I can change because I don't agree with you. So you will have to tell me what I should do. And then I throw the monkey on your shoulder. And you throw it back to me and say that, well, I think that when you have reflected a little bit, you will understand that I'm right. And I want you to come back with a list. So you see, the monkey represents the responsibility for change taking place. And of course, it has to be on my shoulder who is going to change, not on the leader's shoulder. And when you observe situations like this, you can practically see the monkey jumping from one shoulder to another. And very often leaders leave conversations like that loaded with monkeys like a zoo. And that's not right. The monkey is supposed to be on my shoulder, the responsibility for something being done till we meet again. Remember your body language. Remember that you state what you say, not only with your words, but also with your body language. And make sure that the two fit. It's very tempting if this doesn't work. I promise you, very often it works. Most of the times. And if it doesn't, you just have to do it again. Give them another chance. And maybe again. But then if it doesn't work, you will maybe have to fire them if it is a serious situation. But don't change that decision in the midst of a conversation, because if you want to fire someone, it's a totally different ballgame, and you have to prepare for that. So always decide whether this is a conversation to develop or to fire up front. And finally, remember, you are not in court. You don't have to prove everything. Even if you don't have examples, you can still take a stand and say that I think your behavior is not acceptable. Even if you haven't seen him, if there is enough people coming to you complaining about behavior, it is your job as a leader to take a stand, define the situation, and react. You are not in court. And you have the right, as a leader, sometimes to define the situation and act on that. That's your only option when you don't have enough data.